I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul, and we are
SP Film Viewers.
Six Reels of Joy is what this next film we're going to be talking about is described as.
We're watching Instagram Reels as a review. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's come to that. We've
it?
run out of everything.
We just don't have capacity to watch anything else. Just so busy. When we're watching 6 reels, right? Okay, I'll just scroll. 1, 2. Does it have to be coherent?
We can try and link it into the story and go, well, that was a weird turn of events, but we are going to be covering a Charlie Chaplin film for first time, and I wouldn't say it's a long overdue thing to do, but I've been talks about it for a good long while. It was going to potentially be a Patreon pick, but I thought because there's so many ones that are sort of iconic, I kind of just wanted to go with like his first feature film as thing rather than put up against something else in his filmography. I think so. We're going to be starting with the very first one, which is called The Kid, and this is probably the oldest film we covered as well. The fact that it's 1921, so silent era.
Talkies. I know.
No, the opposite of.
And when I said it, I was like, "Don't."
But it's funny you should oh, we've got time for things because this is a very short run time of about 52 minutes.
That sounds perfect.
So,
but imagine it will take him so much longer to do than 52 minutes. I know you can say that about every film, but I mean more the credit to them for the fact that this is an older film, so it's going to have taken longer, like production.
Oh yeah.
Wise, not like CGI these days where you can just that'll do, right? You just stand there for a minute and then I'll put all this stuff.
Pretend to green screen it in and do it in post. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, but I think it's more as a Chaplin's more known for like comic timing and stuff. I get a bit like Buster Keaton, where we have seen a film of his in the past. So I expect it's sort of on the lines of that because obviously know of Charlie Chaplin, but never really explored other than seeing clips.
Exactly.
Here and there, again,
for some reason, I've got a very vivid image of him with a ladder, and I don't know why.
Right. Okay. Not
walking down a street with a ladder.
Possibly could. Yeah.
More I always think of him a bit like a cartoon, if I'm completely honest.
Well, his whole thing is sort of a bit of seems like a caricature. I think in this one where he looks he's referred to as the tramp, and he has big shoes and everything, and the hat, and obviously the mustache.
Like a clown.
Yeah. So
I think as well, it always reminds me of a bit of Tom and Jerry. I don't know, there's a little bit I don't know if it's because I just see the clips of them running around that I just assume it's like a cat and chase a mouse cat chase thing.
Yeah, because obviously they don't speak in those cartoons.
Yeah.
So that as such, they obviously it's down to visual timings and how expressions and stuff. So I'm going high expectations. It looks like it's as a first film of his. It looks highly rated across the board anyway with Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb and such. So this one is described as follows. A woman abandons her newborn son along with a note for the finder. The tramp stumbles upon the child and, though initially reluctant, takes him in and raises him as his own.
Sounds cute. Don't know what mother could just be don't want you anymore, but
I guess we'll find out. So, in terms of storytelling, obviously I hope that comes across in strong fashion, because obviously that's what was to work with, and obviously there'll be a musical score it won't just be completely silent.
Yeah.
That's how they go. So it's obviously how that reflects, whether it's all the way at this moment music changed to like you do in most films where it's a sad moment or what. I don't know whether it's just how it's scored, I guess.
Okay. So, I'm interested.
Yep. So we'll be back in a little while to give our thoughts on The Kid.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Midnight.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.
And we are back, having seen The Kid. And what do we think? Is it to expectations, or was it... As a visual cue, it doesn't really work on an audio podcast, so... I don't know what that's supposed to mean anyway. Shock and awe, or... We haven't got cue cards to say with the text coming up. Sophie is shocked, or pleased, or what? Let's go on.
I can't talk in this one because
Okay,
that's
it's going to be very boring.
It's silent film, so it's a silent podcast, and that's what I was trying to do. Huh?
Yeah, there's only work if it's like filmed on for YouTube or something.
I was doing really well. All wasted.
Yep.
You're going to keep that part in?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. 52 minutes worth of gold and...
Was it joy? Is it 6 reels of joy? I wouldn't go as far as
I
say
wouldn't say
that.
joy, because some of it was sad.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a woman, abandoning her child. I wouldn't class that as joy. That's why I was going, because the topic isn't great, is it?
No.
Obviously, in the 1920s, having a baby out of wedlock is frowned upon. And that's why she's like, I can't possibly have a child. I need to fling it away as quick as I can, like a rugby ball.
Or football, as the Americans.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know, I feel like her character I don't really care for too much, but the relationship with Charlie Chaplin's character and the kid, obviously.
Yeah, the tramp and the kid,
John is called.
Yeah.
Not just called the kid, it's called John. He ends up naming him, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's
quite sweet, and it's just this simplisticness of...
how a person, thrown into a situation as... in any sort of story that would happen, I guess, you found a child or abandoned on the street, and you're like, you do your best to whose baby is this, whatever.
Palm it off on somebody else, because I don't want the responsibility.
But then get to a point your guilt sets in, thinking, I'll just leave it and just walk away, but it's like, no, I can't.
But what annoys me is, why didn't the mother feel that way? I know she did kind of go, oh no, I'll go back. Yeah. But she did have a stroll in the park, and she seemed, a little bit hesitant, but she still flung it in a car and didn't assume the car would drive off. Also,
what you'd have thought, eh? Yeah.
I think what annoys me a little bit is just the fact of the Charlie Chaplin character taking on the child. Has less. You can tell by the way he's dressed, the way he's...
Well, his surroundings in squalor, basically.
Yeah.
With that.
And she's dressed quite fine, she looks all well-to-do.
Mm-hmm.
But yet can't look after this child, which she would have actually financially been able to provide the child a good life. Yet a tramp, so to speak, is what he names himself in this character and role, takes him on with hardly anything to look after and raise his child. So it just shows you, doesn't it, a little bit?
About the standards of some people, of how they are, the ones who have less are more caring,
100%.
considerate more half the time than the people who...
The more you have, the less you care, I think, about people.
Mm-hmm.
You become greedy and greedy because you get more and more. And that just shows, you don't have anything, so you're going to value that other person's presence being in your life because that's more important than the finer things. So that's what I've kind of taken from watching the film. In a nutshell, we can probably say, in a sentence, what happens about the film is basically woman abandons child, Charlie Chaplin's character takes it, woman finds out her child is living in squalor and is poorly, and Bob's your uncle,
mother and child are
reunited
at the end. Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of. I mean, obviously, the runtime reflects on that, like sort of like a simplistic sort of story narrative of that. It's more how the initial connection, the go-between for her to find out that it is her child, because there's a scene partway through where when she's more like a star in a career, like 5 years later after the child is like a young boy.
Yeah, 5 years old.
Yeah, 5 years old. And he's like, walking around this area, like, giving handouts to the orphans and such and the people in poverty. And she's like looking at him and she has absolutely no idea that this child is her own at this point. And so, like, when you say about, he becomes sick, the doctors from, when you said country doctor,
doctors.
but it's actually said county.
Not far off.
This is he finds a note with, where this child came from. Are you the father? Is that no? All I got is this note, which is the mother eventually comes to discover. It's like, oh god, that's my handwriting from one thing, so that must mean that
he's my child.
Yeah, child. And so with this, I think obviously I say I'm guessing with all other Charlie Chaplin stuff is the comedic timing with things, because I was chuckling a few times with how things were done, but I wouldn't say it was like, oh, that was knee-slappingly hilarious, I guess.
No, but it is his first one, so obviously as it progresses it might be more funny.
Yeah.
But also the humour back then would have been a more tamed humour than what we have now. Oh yeah,
no, I'm not saying that, because when I'm comparing this to what I've seen of Buster Keaton stuff, where they're the comedic timing that, and also like the practicalities of making those jokes and also stunts come into effect, and thinking, oh my god, like how is mind blowing, like how that was done in a way, like one take and that would like you one shot, and if you get seriously injured from doing that thing, but it still pays off, and it's like you're in awe of that, really. Whereas this, I didn't ever really feel that way about how things were. I think it was more just I guess what impressed me the most, which is going to sound daft, was when the kid was in the streets, when they were doing like a little
he's throwing rocks at the windows.
Yeah, there's a little scam going on with that. He's throwing rocks at the windows, and there's obviously the normal like musical score going on. But I don't think I've ever seen this in any like silent films. This is going to sound really stupid, but there was actually like a glass shattering sound as well interlaced on top of the score as well. So that was like diegetic sound that was happening in the film as well, which is not, you don't normally hear such a thing, clash bang wallop or whatever. It doesn't really take into account for that. It's almost like, oh, okay, that's
why I felt it was more cartoony, because of the way it was
done. And then obviously when he was running away, he was really sped up.
He was. I was like, wow, that little boy's running fast.
Like Speedy Gonzales there or something. Which also learned from when they were doing the filming of this, which was with like a crank camera. So
35mm.
And 2 turns of the crank equals like 16 frames per second. So to allow the footage to be sped up, because it wasn't all that lightning speed to certain points. So there was key moments where they will had to have thought about, okay, what's going to allow for a comedic element here? We need to speed it up to make that seem more dynamic. So we have to add less frames to speed up footage, because that's how animation works. Like timings with that as well, a little bit.
It wasn't like somebody was just reeling the camera reel when they're playing like the film to speed it up on that point. Manually, I don't know.
Like another, really quick turn to on the playback for that to have recorded it. I'm not sure, but I guess I've found that kind of interesting too.
So does that mean when they were filming it, the little boy was running less?
He was running normal speed,
but they weren't filming.
But then when they came to,
would they chop it up? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Chop the negative up, so he would run off at normal speed, and they would film it all. And then what they would do is cut the negative and go, right, we'll put him there and put him there, and then it looks like it's faster.
That's what I would assume. So yeah.
No, I read it different when what I thought was more like as you're, what's the word?
Well, unless they
you're
did do that. What?
rolling
and
the film out.
And then someone's going, right, really speed this up.
yeah.
But then that's not always the case, because there were certain scenes where some people weren't moving as quickly.
I love the other ones
The
were,
ones
because
weren't.
that's when I
Like,
went.
you know, say, like...
The little boy
tramp
ran.
was, like, stuck in or whatever, like, when
Yeah.
this other guy was taking a swing at him in, like, another scene.
Mhm.
But then other people in the background weren't moving as quickly, or didn't seem so, because they probably weren't just, like, the reaction times were not as...
Yeah, because I thought that when the little boy, when they were doing the scam, and
Yeah.
John the kid was running away, and Charlie's character wasn't running as fast as John's character.
Yeah.
So that made me think, when I looked at that, like, oh, how are they doing that then? Is it like a negative overlay? Like, is there two negatives? Charlie Chaplin's character's doing normal speed, and then they're fasting up the other negative of John.
But then how would they interlace that in a way
Easy.
back then? That might sound like a daft question on that, because...
We won't move your camera. Or is it that?
I meant to block it out so that it wouldn't appear, because he's still beyond two... If you see what I mean, like
Unless they just do it of John.
I just call him the kid, because...
Unless they just do the kid, and then they do Charlie's character, so they do Charlie walking by himself.
Yeah, that would be the way to do it.
And
like
then
he would do
the kid.
Like when people do like split, like, oh, they're talking to themselves.
Yeah.
They film it, but they stand there.
Yeah.
But then they film themselves standing in a different outfit, whatever.
But then your logic
then
must
they
apply
split.
to the negatives. The way that they're making them faster by cutting the negative would make more sense. If you're reeling it, then Charlie Chaplin's character would be running fast too if they're both aligned.
Yes.
Or is it? I've got it. Why are you laughing at me?
He's like a chalkboard here. Like, I theorising this, like with the speed of this, the velocity of this, and if you,
Go with me.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin's character, full take of him walking away, normal speed.
Yep.
On one negative.
Mm-hmm.
The little boy, shorter speed. If you crank it, and you still cut the negative to make the boy even smaller, and have Charlie Chaplin's character doing longer, when you reeled it, the boy would look still fast.
Yeah.
And Charlie would go at the normal speed of the reel that you would be reeling it at.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this is a lot of negative overlays. Because there were certain things where you could see like chops and starts. You could see a lot of like cartoon characters of like the black circle coming in and it zooming in and out.
That's like the fade into the next scene kind of thing.
And I was thinking, I straight away when I saw that, my head was like, oh, I wonder if they've put a dark circle around the negative and then zoomed in and out kind of thing.
I think they might have done, yeah.
Yeah.
To give that effect.
Or either to the camera or to the actual negative itself once it's been developed, one or the other. Because I think they might not have considered doing that until later on once they've filmed everything.
Yeah,
of how to cut and change.
Yeah, like how do we go from this scene to the next?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go, right, starting it, but then, cut to what happening over here, yeah.
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 And obviously they'll probably recorded a lot more than what they've put in.
Done. Which is pretty standard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Better to have more than less.
Oh, true. But I do think for a film back then of its time, also as first non-talkies film, the only kind of experience I have of a silent film is probably from Singing in the Rain. It's like, but it's taking the piss out of them, really.
Yeah.
And I think I've always then gone, oh, silent films are rubbish, yada, 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 yada. But I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. It was like, I don't know, just this like...
Sorry, you thoroughly enjoyed this film? This experience? Okay.
I did.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
Did you not?
No.
All right.
No, it's not that I didn't. I think it was just from what I've more of a background a little bit in I've seen other silent films, and I think it's they offer different things, because in one capacity, obviously, like I said, mentioned about Buster Keaton.
I don't think I've seen any of his. Have I?
Yeah, we have. We've watched it was the General, where it was the train.
Yes.
Yes. There was that one, but I've seen another one of his where he was a film projectionist, and then he was like putting himself in the film as well. And so there's effects in that. I was standing like, wow, they do like the kind of like out of body experience type of thing.
But was that the first Akita, because
No,
I feel
no,
like you're
no.
comparing Chalk and Cheese a little bit, because this is the first Charlie Chaplin. He
No,
will have progressed probably
Oh
to
no,
be.
yeah, he's done like other shorts before this and everything like that. But this is so I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just saying I don't know. I did have high expectations, but not saying that there's the heart of the story's in there, because obviously there is that with the he's the touching aspect of him, taking in the kid, and he's like really cute little.
Oh, the
guy.
kid is so cute,
and he does like a good performance as well. Like what little he has to do in it, but
the little boy.
yeah.
I think he's really good with the way that he portrays emotion, especially at the end when he's getting taken away from Charlie Chaplin's character. He's even got like a little tear, even if it is just water being put on his face.
Yeah, he's like, he's not like.
He's really good at being over dramatised for a little boy of that age when he is so tiny to deliver that performance.
And when he's having that little scrap with the other older kid and everything, he's like beating him up and everything and all that kind of stuff. Because that's like, that's funny, because like this kid should be the one getting an ass whooping, but
it's quite funny actually the way you see it, because to be fair, he's grown up streetwise, has the kid. He has had no choice, and then I think with his mum, she's quite more well-to-do. And then when she realises, she's like, oh, I could have given you a better life. That's what I kind of feel I get from it, which is a little bit like, well, you could have done that from the start. He was your responsibility. You're lucky that Charlie Chaplin's character took him in, really.
Yeah. But another thing is, like, sort of the very back end was I don't know what you made of it, when the tramp's like in a doorway and he's like falls asleep, and then the whole street like becomes flowers and everyone's got like angel wings and stuff. Like, that's almost implying that he died at that point. But yet, shortly after all that sequence things, the policeman like shaking him awake, like wake up kind of thing.
I think it was like a dream sequence.
It did come say the dream, but like, what did that mean exactly? What do you think?
I think he was thinking, if I passed away, what would? Or like,
he did have the kid at that point as well, because he was like flying.
Yeah, I don't know if it was more like the boy's gonna die, and that would maybe break him if it did.
Oh, just hoping that because everyone, even the guy he had a kerfuffle with, had a thing, and then there was a whole thing about like the sin is like, what was it, the vampire?
Vamps
something. Like,
I had to Google that. I'm sorry.
What the term meant, like a vampire, like whispering, like like seducing. Him. Then to the jealousy of the other person, like the little devil on the other guy's shoulder, like, oh look, he's after your girl here, kind of thing. And so it's a bit. I don't know. That just seemed a bit like an odd thing to throw in. I don't know how that kind of correlated to the overall story. I don't know that.
I feel like it was so close to the end that it didn't really impact me as much. I think the relationship between Charlie and the kid grew more throughout, and I got quite attached to them. Then that part, I guess that's just like that happened. He had a dream of where they all died. One
of the jokes I did really like, though, that was kind of like, okay, this is kind of more what I expected, was when Charlie Chaplin's tramp was doing the window fixing thing, and he's talking to a lady. I think the policeman coming home into his house, and he kind of leans in like, oh, here's him and his wife talking in the street. And he kind of like, you can say, oh, yeah, I can see where this is going. Like, the window's open and it's framed in a way like he's going to peer through in a minute. And Charlie Chaplin's like, oh, they're holding the hand and everything. He's holding the woman's hand. It's like, oh, they're like Chaplin's like hitting. It's like, okay, right. It was like, oh, this is a bit aggressive kind of thing. And then he starts like joking, thinking, oh, what's going on here? She's not, the way she's talking to me doesn't seem like this
she should be choking me.
And so, yeah, again, that's sort of like Tom and Jerry-esque
100%, because
way of putting a joke in on that sort of like comedic way.
Yeah, it is. And I think it always reminds me of like initially with Tom and Jerry, the mum of Tom. Like
Thomas?
You only see her pants.
Her legs, or stockings, yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of the equivalent of the hand, even though you can kind of see the policeman's face throughout, like kind of getting angry and angry. It just kind of similarities of a Tom and Jerry kind of vibe-esque.
Right, okay.
I don't know. I just...
All right.
Everything about it reminded me of a cartoon, pretty much. but there was a deeper story, moral behind it. But even in cartoons, there is a story and a moral.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In Tom and Jerry, there's morals.
Yeah.
Name one.
Don't miff one another off.
That's what every...
Or Karma's a bitch. Do as you do to others, not as you do... What's the one?
If someone, shoves dynamite up your bum, make sure you do it tenfold.
No. But I think with this one, I personally just feel like it's a people pleaser. It's one that you can put on and it just makes you feel all kind of cozy and light-hearted.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything from that. Like, the values of that, like, even in the times of turmoil where, he even, like, sneaks him into, like, they need a place to crash, and he's like, right, I'm paying for lodgings for the night, but quick, get him through the window and hide under the covers and everything, just so they don't get caught and everything. And so, does get caught, and so, okay, I'll cough up, kind of thing, and he still does that, but then, and then he panics, obviously, like, when he's the innkeeper, or whatever you want to call him, who owns the place, and it's like, he sees the ad for, like, this fits the description of last seen with this man with, big shoes and everything like that. So, right, he's asleep, I'll take him away, kind of thing, and then realises, like, oh my god, where's he gone, kind of thing, like, he panicking and everything, and he goes, she actually shows she really cares for, because obviously, it's, he's only 5 years gone, but it's like, still a long time to commit to all that and stuff, and even though when he was little wee babby and everything, he had that little cute hammock thing that he had himself.
And the way that he did, like, the teapot with the milk or whatever. Yeah.
Suckle on this kind of thing, yeah.
I did actually look at that and think to myself, I wonder if that's actually, they're just letting the baby do that.
Oh, yeah, I think...
Because back then, they probably wouldn't have been able to do anything else special about it. So it is, like, milk or something put on there.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Different standards back then. Yeah. What is worried, I guess, of that, really. But I guess the sort of benefit of being a silent film, you don't hear the baby crying, which I guess can be some, for me anyway, sometimes a bit distressing. It depends on how, in the relation to, like, what's occurring, I guess. If that makes sense. Like, if a parent was being, like, really ignorant, and I was thinking, well, no, come on, just address
but how often
the situation.
has the baby cried and you tried to do nothing and it's not going to work? I guess it's...
I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like because we're not parents, we can't really say.
Until we truly know.
Yeah. It's like, that baby's been crying all day. I've comforted it 20 times.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. It could be that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm not saying it wasn't a bad experience. Like, God, I never want to see anything else from it, because there's a lot of other ones which are much longer, but I don't know, like, I guess I did have expectations of, like, were quite high for outing. I know this one, from the title alone, is like one of the most well-known of his catalogue, really, and sort of like, I'd say the iconic poster with the, like, peeking around the wall and the policeman's like I've got on the box here. It's like a comedic
Yeah. The little boy looks like a girl in that picture as well, to me.
Yeah, you said that before we watched.
I was like, is that a girl or a boy?
I'm sure it's a boy.
Like, how do you know? But it's quite comical when he comes home with the kid back home to his house, and there's a couple of women outside, and they're like, "Oh, is that yours?" And he's like nodding. Is it a boy or a girl? And then he's like, "Wait a minute." And then goes, obviously, has to sus check.
What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where he said John. Yeah. Like other films I do own. I picked some of these up from, like, eBay seller and stuff, so like a big, smallish stack of other ones to watch. But City Lights is one of them, and that's been cited as one of Chaplin's best, and that's one that Emma Stone is a big fan of.
Well, why didn't we watch that one then, since you love Emma Stone so much?
That's what I meant about, like, whether we should pair that up in a Patreon fashion of, like, vote for which one we'd watch, but I didn't want to do it that way, because, like, to start from almost like
the beginning,
going from the beginning to see how things
and how he grows and develops as a director, because he's doing a lot.
Oh yeah, no, he's I said at the start, it's like, oh wow, he's written, directed and thing.
I was like, is he Taylor Swift? You know?
Oh, I said joke and said, "Did you tell me Wiseau from The Room?"
Don't even compare the two. It's insulting.
I was joking.
Like,
It's obviously like
he has a lot more hard work directing a film camera than a digital shitty film that's crap.
that you filmed digital and 35.
Why do you need it both?
It's an American movie. Kind of.
You don't need it in both.
It's the future.
No.
No, a good time. I say it's one that you could easily put on with a short run time. It's not like that taxing, because I think in check times, we're like halfway through already, like a thing, and it flew by, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's, I say, like, you don't need to stretch out for an hour and a half with this. I think that would have really dragged if it was to make a story so simplistic as this to that length wouldn't have worked. So with that in mind, I think it's a solid outing really for a first feature length, as it were.
Well, yeah, I think he's put a lot of work and effort into it. He's got a lot of cast. He's got a lot of people to direct. He's got musical scores that are great.
Yeah. Did you like the musical score that went along with it? Yeah.
You even said it was quite good. Like certain ones where they were doing it, and timing wise, seemed to work quite well within the background.
Yeah, because they've got to think on that as well a little bit, as to reflect on using that as a cue for, say, emotions or or the dramatic.
When she chucked a child in a car and left him.
Yeah, and like, oh no, like sort of mild peril or whatever, kind of like, yeah.
Shocked, no.
You'd have thought the car drove off.
It could have got nicked by anybody.
Well, baby never got shot by these gangs, criminals.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's what we're going to shoot, babe.
She'd never seen a child in the 5 years after the fact, would she then?
No.
The fact that she spends, how much does she put up for them to get? Like $1,000?
Yeah, $1,000, yeah.
Back then?
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
Annoyingly, she could afford to have a child.
Yeah.
She didn't want to look after it for 5 years of its life, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to bring up?
I think just the black and whiteness. I know this sounds like a stupid thing to say, but I feel like you've got to appreciate the colour of, like, the contrast of film.
Yeah.
Actual, when I say film, not digital, that's what I'm meaning.
Yes.
Like, the sharpness of a old, traditional black and white camera.
Yeah.
That's shot, and I think the hues and the contrast, like when you say, oh, our telly's OLED and the blacks are blacks and the whites are white, I feel like you kind of get that sharp and crispness with it being in black and white better than you used to do in film.
That's why I'm like a big advocate for 4K in general, but also like some, as you'll know, It's a Wonderful Life or any of those old black and white films in 4K really stand out a lot more.
Yeah,
because that's so the colours gamut you've got in a sense of that, and then that helps emphasise those details a lot more generally sometimes than like full blown colour things occasionally, but
especially in A Wonderful Life, like compared to it not being in 4K to being in 4K, there's like signs that you can read. It's just more crystal clear. Everything's just more sharp, and like the snow looks white and crisp and even. And it is beautiful. It really is. And I think I really do appreciate sometimes a really nicely contrasted black and white film.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll say on this as well, because we've got the Criterion disc here, and that being 4K digital restoration. So
there you go.
So I did have the things. I got these because I thought, well, again, I wanted to see them in the best quality possible, because I got to have like from, I can't remember, a while ago, like a box set bundle of Blu-rays. The Blu-rays, but the 4K transfers on Blu-ray, so they're not like true 4K, but they are close enough to that.
Yeah.
And I don't know as to what quality on those other discs. They're probably certainly lesser sharpness than what these offer. So that's, as always, I say, like, for looking for the best quality, especially if it's something you want to watch for the first time, you want to see it in the best quality you can, generally, 100%. if possible. So yeah, this stands out with what we saw on the TV and everything like that. And
it was stunning.
Yeah.
It really was. I think it's just a really simplistic story that's done beautifully. Some good humour. Not like cringy humour either.
Oh, no.
It is like slapstick kind of humour, but old school, so it's not cringe.
Your level of appreciation.
I feel like if you're not feeling well or anything as well, this is like a film that you could just put on. You're not having to concentrate too much. It's not hard. It's just it could be even in the background and you'd know what's going on. You could go out to the toilet and come back and you could still twig on what the story would be. You know, you don't miss like Game of Thrones where somebody's died, somebody's been raped or murdered. You know, all of that crap in the space of 10 minutes when you've been out and about.
Yeah.
It would literally, you'd be like, oh yeah, you can just catch up wherever you've left off. And I understand why they are so popular and he did so well. Like, I get it. He's really talented.
Icon,
He's very small.
I guess so, yeah.
He is.
Relatively compared to other
men
characters
back then, yeah.
But I think that adds to his sort of like overall character, as it were. Or
it's his charm, isn't it? And the fact that he's implying, I don't know if they used to say about big men with big shoes back then. Clearly, they don't fit him.
Very worn out.
Yeah, very clown-like.
Yeah. But I feel like he is that kind of like sweet, simplistic clown character.
I wonder when clowns became existent. I wonder if he was like our first actual clown. When did clowns became a thing or became famous?
Become popular.
16th century.
Well, you think like jesters and stuff.
Mm.
So, yeah, an iteration of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would have been before then. So, yeah.
So, anything else or are we going to scores?
I don't think there's much else to say, really.
It feels like this is going to be like a whistle tour, but the film is it makes it harder to kind of delve deep. But
this isn't. I guess it's kind of weird. Like, we've got enough to talk about with this, but I think we've done a fair job of
100%. I feel like the film itself is not really hard to talk about. It is kind of the beat of the film, and you know what is kind of predictable. But I think the way it's done and the way it's portrayed and everything gives it a whole new level.
Yeah, I think what for me is, like I say, I wish I had more to say on, like, that effect. How did they do that? Other than the fact that the different camera speeds and all that kind of stuff was put into practice. But because I was just saying before about like what other silent films I've seen where they are more horror based of like gothic macabre in a way, and obviously you have that kind of like old filtery way that makes someone appear like they are a ghost kind of thing, like that kind of like, and I think, but that to me, like, how do they do something like that back in the day? Like that might sound really daft as well, or something like that. But or sort of like with shadows and stuff like that. That's to me, that is like really impressive for a film of that age in the similar like 20s, 30s. To me, it came across a bit more impressive. Not to say I didn't find enjoyment from this, but I'd be definitely interested to see going forward what else his films have to offer, especially like City Lights, as I say, and other ones. There's like the one called The Great Dictator, which is like obviously relating to like Hitler and still like what comedic stuff with that, like making a joke of that or how that comes across.
How that would work.
that intrigues me. That's going to intrigue me more, and I do want to obviously see more of the stuff. We've got the disc and everything there, so whether we do that in our own time, I don't know. But but overall, fairly positive. I will go with a score of 8.5.
Oh wow! Okay, you really led me there. I really thought it was going to be lower. I don't know.
Oh no, definitely not. I think give fair play to what is in sort of like the history of Chaplin and silent cinema and stuff. I feel like I can't really be like, that was really rubbish kind of thing. Like,
shittest film I've ever seen.
No, because there was a charm and heart to it. But I just felt like I just wanted a little bit more from it.
I think you just went in with higher expectations.
Yeah.
Which is how I normally feel when the movie awards say, this is the best film ever, like Oppenheimer, and then it's like, actually, no, it's shit. And then you're like, oh, right, okay, why did I go in thinking that was going to be great? just because everybody else has said it was. I think that's how you feel a little bit let down.
Yeah. What would you go with it?
It's got a cute kid in it. It's got black and white film. It's got humour that I like. It's cute, sweet, and all tied up in a bow in 50 odd minutes. It's like watching a olden cartoon, and it's just pure joy. Apart from obviously the woman that abandons a kid. That's my only downside. Don't really make us look great as a woman back then.
Or any point.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, just like with the vain fams or whatever we are as well, and then we chuck his kid down the street, you know, and don't want it. Just makes us feel, as a woman portraying in herself, we look quite fickle in this film, I would say.
Okay.
But what do I expect? It's a 1920s film. Overall, Charlie Chaplin's character and the kid, it's pure sweetness on screen. It's really cute and sweet and endearing. I feel like they have a really good relationship off screen as well as on screen.
How do you mean, sorry?
I don't know, they just feel like the rapport between them comes through so well that they must have got on.
Oh, okay. Right. We don't know.
No, but
so obviously
I feel like a kid that age, if they're not going to like you, they're going to make it very apparent.
I guess, yeah.
And be crying every 2 minutes and throwing tantrums. And he seemed to do a really good job to say he was only really little.
Young.
I think with this film, you have to kind of take away the fact that, okay, the storyline is quite basic, but the time frame, the scale that they have to put all of this together, the amount of effort that's gone into making this film, and the music and the thought and the process, it'll have taken a long time. So I'm going to give it a 9. Not far off you. I really thought you were going to give it lower. I
thought you were going to give it a 10, actually. No. By the way you were going on about it, so you threw me off there. So what did you think I was going to give it?
I thought 7 the way you were going on.
Oh, no.
I have it. All tied nicely in a bow of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie's a good name too.
And as I say, look forward to seeing the other films in this catalogue, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
Should we put one on now?
Yeah. Right, so thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you'd like to check out some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, and wherever else you get podcasts from. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else they do the scoring system.
So, if you want more SP Film Viewer fun stuff in your life, or if you just want to see all the crap Paul buys and people wonder why I let him, to be honest, it arrives, I don't know it's coming, then you can follow us on social media under the handle SP_filmviewers on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, and that's all of them, or anything else. That
is all. And of course, we'd like to thank the Patreons for their continuing support with just being there and voting for movies when we put the polls up and everything.
Yeah.
And if you want to have your name read out, as we're going to do in a moment, and have the chance to help us pick a movie out once a month, then all you need to do is go to patreon.com/spfilmviewers, and we're going to read out the people who have joined the family so far.
So, first of all, we've got my mum. Then we've got our friends Alex and Shani. So, both on Instagram under the handle Desperately Seeking Username and SDOG.
Also got friend Danny Jones and Emma, who are at Weight Loss Jonesy and M_Hayton on Instagram. And our friend Gren, who is at CGren_draw on Instagram.
And lastly and not least, the podcasters. Does that sound cool, right?
For the podcasters.
Yeah. So we have got Mark from 100 Things We Learnt from Film. We've got Ben from Push Pull Health.
Formerly Film Floggers.
That's a bit of a tongue tie. Yeah. And then, lastly but not least, we've got Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast. And I feel like I'm really proud of myself because I now don't say the good, the bad, and the ugly anymore. I appreciate that weird is better.
Embracing it. Embrace the weird.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you everybody for continuing support. And thank you once again for listening, all you lovely people.
Ah, aren't you nice? Smooching everybody. He's only doing that, peeps, because his birthday's soon.
So thank you very much for listening once again. And we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.